Hello? Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, from wherever you're watching tonight. It's the realistic tier, where last week we saw Repo Skits take a dominant win under the lights in Bahrain. Today it's a much grimmer day with no lights here in Austria, and after an enthralling tier 2 race yesterday, we're sure to see the same. Coming first out of the pitch is Twitch Conyo, who, oh no, it's going to be the Haas, who just gets out ahead of him. Lando Inter made a real brave bet yesterday to stay out on the Inter for a long period, which ended up getting him a P5 and potentially driver of the day shouts. But he's going to be looking to do what he can today in that Haas. Not the quickest car on the grid, but it's definitely very handy around this track, as we saw earlier in the real life F1 season. Twitch Conyo, saw him last week in the McLaren, I believe. He was very quick out there, and there's a few cars that you would think have the upper hand car-wise, and Repo Skits in the Red Bull is definitely one of those. And will he be stopped today? It's going to be another one of those days, you would imagine, but anything can happen. And with drivers like Sunski, who were battling a lot last week, really, for position, the win, and everything in between, you would think he would have a chance today at the win. Meanwhile, about to start his lap is Lando Inter. He's going to be the first man to set a lap as we get the lap data up. As we see Lando Norris become the first man to go out onto track as he takes across the start-finish line and will be greeted by the Alfa Romeo that's coming out of the pit lane just ahead of him. He's going to pick up a nice slipstream down the first back straight of this track, uphill for turn 3 and into a hard braking zone for turn 4. The Alfa Romeo swiftly out of the way then, has Lando Norris Inter post a 16.6 in the first sector. He got up on the curb going into 4 very nicely as he activates the DRS, something that he couldn't really do yesterday considering the awfully wet conditions there were out on track. There's not a lot of tailwind around this track, but there is a lot of front end wind that could affect the driver's aerodynamics going into certain corners of the track. Into 5 we go then, and that's very nicely on the brakes and picks up a nice amount of curb, not overdoing it but didn't underdo it, and this is looking like a very tidy lap. The 46 won for him in the middle, got a bit up on the curb there, but that shouldn't affect him too much. Into final few corners, into Lauda's curve we go, into onto the pit line, because the pit line and the racing line are the same around this track. He's going to hit the line, and what's this going to be for Lando Norris Inter? It's a 1:06.6 for the Haas, and Twitch Conyo has stopped. He would have been the second man to post time, but he's not going to be now because he's had an incident somewhere on the track. But the first onboard lap of this qualifying session, Lando Norris Inter proving his pace at the top of the timing sheets. Meanwhile, Repo Skits, he's not the championship leader because last week was only pre-season. He seems to be on a decent lap, 16.8. I do not believe that was quicker than Lando Norris Inter. It's 2 tenths slower than Lando Norris Inter, in fact. Nicely on the brakes through there. He's going to go down to end sector 2. That was very, very on the edge, track limits wise. At 48.6, this isn't a good lap. I believe he's aborted because that wasn't good enough. A man who hasn't aborted is Mirror Show. He goes to the top of the timing sheets with a 1:06.6. That's a very competitive lap time. It's close to Lando Norris Inter, but it's just proving what kind of pace these drivers have. It's only Q1, so you're not going to see the maximum push. Tomos now sticks it at the top in the Alfa Romeo with a 1:06.2, but it just proves that cars don't mean everything, even in the realistic tier where there is such a pace deficit from cars like the Red Bull all the way down the grid to cars like the Williams. But meanwhile JDM hasn't validated, but there's definitely a few drivers that are just slightly quicker than others. A driver that's very much in the midfield pack is a man we're about to go on board with if my controller would like to work. There it is. Alfie Doolhan. He's a very average driver in the pack. He's a very midfield driver, but that's what we like. He's very consistent and can post outstanding pace at times. He's in no stretch of the word slow. He's quite quick, in fact, but let's see what he can do. His teammate sticked at P3 and was on P1 for a moment. The man who is now P1 is Sunski in the Ferrari, 1:05. That's more like it for him. Alfie Doolhan, meanwhile, what's he got? It's into sector 2. Let's see the braking overhead. That's nicely on the curb, and if he can get a nice bit of curb there, not overdoing it, a bit shaky, it looked like from the back end and front. A 46.1, that is quite nice through sector 2. He's coming into Lauda curve in a few moments time. That's a very interesting line. Repo Skits tops the timing sheet for 1 minute 5. He avoided his previous lap and went for another one, and has proved why he is, well, he's not your championship either, but he could easily have been. Alfie Doolhan sticks at P7 with a 1 minute 6.8, and he's the Alpha Terrier of Battlehawks in a half sandwich at the moment, but Repo Skips comfortably taking top of the timing sheet by a whopping 5 tenths. Well done to him. Lando Norris Inter, I believe, should be on his in lap now, or has he gone for a charge lap? He looks to be pushing into turn 1. He is on a hot lap, it looks to be, and he's put it in a wall. No, he's kept it out of the wall, but onto the grass. Goes Lando Norris Inter after a spin around, and into the polystyrene barrier. That's not how he would have imagined his second run to go, but that's what happened. A spin just after turn 1 for Lando Norris Inter, and with those softs getting older and older, he's surely gonna be into the pit lane now. Sorry about that. Going back to the action then. Machin is on end lap, I believe. He was only 9 tenths slower in sector 1. He looks to be cruising around the track, so I'm not too sure if he's on an in lap or maybe a second run. It does look like he's slowing in there, so yeah, it's an end lap for him. So most of the cars have now completed a first run. Twitch Konyo, who we saw have a little incident on his lap when we were on board with Lando Norris Inter, he's now back out on track. He's going to look to set a time that can, you know, get him out of the drop zone area. He's not in the drop zone as a matter of fact, but he could maybe kind of get into that area if he doesn't get a good enough lap time with Max Day, the driver, at risk at the moment. His teammate is second, remember, and I believe Milo is disconnected from the session. I'm not too sure. Meanwhile, the man in 17th, he's definitely in the drop zone, is looking to improve, and he's gone off there, and that's an invalidation. That looked really bad on the curbs, and Machin has left the session. Not too sure what that's about. So a few drivers disconnecting from the session. Not ideal, of course, but that's what's happened. So most of the cars in the pit lane now. Mirror Show, I think he's on a cooldown. Rated is on an outlap. This man, he's got very good pace. He's not often challenged at the front in tier 1, I don't believe, but he's definitely got the pace. I think he was in the Aston Martin last week, but he's coming down into the end of sector 2, and he's going to look to prove his pace. He needs to, you know, get himself in a better car for season 5. It's only the start of season 4, remember, so he's going to have to impress and push out the absolute maximum of that Aston Martin. He's currently P10, which if you excluded every car that hasn't set a lap, he would currently be in the drop zone, but he's not, which is a bit of a relief for him. Into turn 1 we go. That's very tidy on the brakes and very tidy on the outside curb. He activates the DRS down the back straight. He's now dropped to P11 as Twitch Konyo goes up to 6, proving why his early woes weren't really a woe to worry about. 3 tenths for Rated in the first sector on his previous lap. DRS will be activated down the back straight as he pushes that car to, I don't know, about 170 miles an hour, 190 miles an hour, around that area. Into 4 we go. That's a brilliant turn from him to get the axle, real turnaround, and he goes really early to the outside line to turn in for turn 5 now, as turn 6, as he gets back on the outside curve. Into 7 we go, 2 tenths quicker, so overall he's gained 5 tenths in the middle sector and first sector combined. Now into Lauder curve. He's dropping it down to about 100 miles an hour just to go through, gliding through that curve. Little bit stretchy, but he's kept it all together nicely within the limits. Here to the line we go, and it's 1 minute 6.7. Only he lost a lot of time in the final sector. He was 5 tenths up in the first and second, and only a 10th improvement puts him P9. That's not ideal, but I suppose it's not the worst case scenario. But Rated then P9, and here's a much quieter area of the track. The pit lane, a lot of cars coming into the track and analysing all their data. But it's definitely one of maybe not the funnest of experiences for the drivers, but It's not too bad. You're just relaxing and driving out on track, and then when you come into the pit lane, it's just a lot more of a relaxed atmosphere. But that's a car coming out. I believe that was a Red Bull. Couldn't quite catch it, but another Red Bull has sticked it P5, and that is Senku. It was a McLaren that came out of the pit boy. Milo P5. And there was a bit of worry when he disconnected, but he seemingly got himself back into the session, and up into P5 he goes now. So it's not too bad for Senku. It's not too bad for the rest of the cars out there, as he posts P5. Not too bad of a lap time for Milo. And Samibo P6 behind him. That could be a potential shock on the cars. His team at P7, so the Alpines are very close together. As we take a quick break at this point, but when we're back, we'll see the end of Q1 and who's to be eliminated first in our realistic tier. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and there's 5 minutes to go in this Q1 session with a sunny Austrian day. Faria, it's not going to be sun in his head, I'm sure, as he's invalidated and he's 18th, so he's probably going to get one more roll of the dice to try and make it out of Q1 here in Austria. I believe he was out in Q1 last week in the Williams, if I'm not mistaken. The number 57 not doing him the best today, as he sits P18 and yet to complete a lap. Meanwhile, the Ferrari, whose teammate, he just had a spin on his outlap, but his teammate is P2 at the moment. He's P17, so he's going to have to improve if he wants to get it out of Q1 also. There's only a couple of cars left out on the track at the moment. Samibo and Twitch Konyo are currently 7th and 8th, and he went very over. I wouldn't be surprised if he this and next lap invalidated, but has he? Yes, he has done that. He went real over the curb in turn 9, and that may be part of the reason why he's invalidated again. So Ferrari, it's looking quite grim at the moment for them. Well, one of them is at the top of the table in second, and one of them is almost second to last, so it's not ideal for the Scarlet Red team at the moment. Ural Samibo is currently on a third run, I believe. DRS activated down the back straight. He went purple in sector 1. That's looking good for his Samibo. Here he goes into 5, nicely on the brakes, and gets that car slowed down on the curb. A lot of cars are doing they're going straight to the outside, even though they could probably control their car for a bit longer and maybe gain a bit more speed than going as aggressive as this man is. But he's 4,000. Sorry about that, guys. Samibo went 1,000ths quicker than his previous attempt, pushed him slightly more clear of his teammate, but only by 200ths of a second, which just proves how close they were previously. Sen, P6, is also on another run now, as you can see. He's an interesting guy. He can show he's very quick at times, but sometimes he just doesn't have it. Does Milo? He's very inconsistent on occasions, but in realistic tier, he's seemed to have found his time to shine in terms of race pace and etc. But he's gone through sector 2, and he's going to look to improve it. A bit of a lock that looked like into Lauda's curve. Into 9 we go, final corner of this racetrack, and unfortunately for him, it's an invalidation of the lap, and he will have to look to go back round if he's going to go again. He'll have to go back round to reset the lap time, but not ideal. Both Alfa Romeos have retired from the session. They are already through, so no concern there. So then, I can't quite see how many minutes are left due to the fact now I can. 2 minutes 20 remaining, and if you're going to get a lap in, you're going to be heading out of the pit lane now. So Sambio, I don't know if he'll be coming out. Alfie Dulhan, I expect, will want to come out. Machin will have to come out. Lab Destroyer is on a lap, 2 times quicker in sector 2. What can he do into the final 3 corners? Now it's going to be an invalidation. Oh no, I don't know how that's not been invalidated, but VRP Destroyer is going to hit the line and goes P16, and I believe it's an improvement on his lap, but he stayed where he was, unfortunately for him. So VRP Destroyer was P16, and despite a 2/10 improvement, stays P16, and that's a big shame for the Williams. And to add to his woes, he can't go 2 in a row because he's got an AlphaTauri roadblock in front of him and a half behind him, so he's probably going to have to let that half through before he starts his next run. Lando Norris, Inter and TTV Rated are on outlaps at the moment. They're going to be going for one more. So then, Faralabra has retired, which means his qualifying is put to an end, and he will be out in Q1. To add to his misery, we can try and get Mirror Show to show us what has happened down there at Lauda's curve. The car is into a wall coming into Lauda, and that's going to be the end of his session. Mirror has his box, and the only cars that can now be out, there's only 4 left to go out. The Destroyer is going to have to improve, and he's not improved in sector 1. He's going to have to make an improvement by at least 2/10 to get through. Machin's action in Q1 is done. Rated's action in Q1 is done. Max Day is out in Q1 and in last. His teammate could be fighting for pole. He is in last, and that is quite embarrassing. JDM hits the line. Can he get out of Q1? No, he can't, which means there's one man that is left to try and get out of Q1. He's gone 200ths clear in sector 2, so I believe he's making about a net gain of about 100th maybe, but it's not going to be good enough unless he makes a miraculous recovery in sector 3. It's the final corner. He's got a bit of a slipstream, but no, he's invalidated it, which means he's out in Q1, folks. And that's it for Q1. VRP Destroyer couldn't improve, and in the Williams, I can hardly blame him for it. Machin survived by the skin of his teeth, and JDM out. Max Day in the Ferrari out. And that's your order for Q1. So then, Repo Skits. We've seen this one before. Top secession in Q1. 4/10 clear of Panik, his biggest rival in pre-season. Aiden in the Alfa Romeo alongside his teammate in 3rd and 4th. Wicked Red in the Mercedes 5th. Milo 6th. That's an average performance. 7th is URL Samibo. 8th is Twitch Conyo. 9th is Battlehawk. 10th is Faria. 11th is Alfie Dulhan. 12th is Mirror Show. 13th is Lando Norris Inter. 14th is TTV Rated. 15th, surviving just about, is Machin. 16th is VRP Destroyer out, and both Williams are out in Q1. Max Day, shock departure in the Ferrari, and the Aston Martin of JDM are out in Q1. So folks, we roll over to Q2. Okay, welcome back folks, and Twitch Conyo is the man at the top I'm not too sure how the timing screens are done actually for stuff like, you know, who's at the top. Maybe it's just randomized, you know, there's no particular order for it. But here he comes anyway. Twitch Conyo out of the box. That happened in Q1. A car just hopping in front of him. This time it's the Aston Martin. But he's trying to give him a little push up. The other Alpine is behind him. URL somewhere. The teammates following each other in unison out of the pit lane. A man who's gone right before the others is the first man out in last session. Lando Norris Inter. He's about half a straight ahead of the Red Bull of either Repost, who topped Q1. Remember, the South African putting in a series of respectable performances so far. A man who's not racing tonight is Perra, which is a big shame. He finished 3rd in last week's race in the Alfa Romeo. Aiden comes in to replace him, and so far he's doing a decent job. He's on pace with his teammate, and he was P3, so that's a bit more than decent. It's quite respectable in all honesty. Lando Norris once again then, we've seen him last session on board with him. He's going to be the first man to take to the line to start a lap. Repo Skits, what's he got? Is it 2 poles in a row? Well, you probably have to think so far. But here he goes then, Repo Skits. He's got a free track ahead of him and behind him, but he's not going to have that for long, as the Ferrari that's just come out of the pit lane, maybe a bit of a roadblock, and his teammates moved out the way for him onto the grass, so that's very extreme. The Ferrari's also got out of his way, and I believe that's Panik, so a bit of fair play there from his championship rival, it would seem. DRS will be activated down the back straight, and he will have a look behind him, have a look in front of him, and see no cars around him as he hits the speed detection zone, I believe. Into 5 we go. That's nicely done. No curb at all. That means no deposition of speed. He goes into 6 now, and he's got lovely space, but I did see him just go onto the curb. Then I looked straight down, and he did in fact invalidate, but it shouldn't be too much of an issue, but it could turn out to be, you know, just in case anything happened. But he's may go again, but he seems to be still pushing, so he's either into the pits or going again. He's going again, so could have been smart to recharge the tyres. But Norris Inter goes to the top with a 106.6, virtually the same lap time as he set last session. But Faria, what can he do? He's on the lap. He survived Q1 just about. Twitch Conyo goes quicker than Lando Norris Inter. Let's go on board with URL Samibo. He's invalidated, unfortunately for him. Rated cannot beat Conyo. Mirror Show is on the Mercedes. He's in sector 1 only. Aiden, I believe, is close to finishing his lap. He's gone purple in sector 2. He was 3rd in Q1. Can he go 1st in Q2? Faria has put it 5th, and his underwhelming performances so far have continued. Aiden into the final corner then. What can he put his Alfa Romeo in Q2? He's done P1 for Aiden. 5 temps clear, and that is a whopping lap time. And I believe that's the first time we've seen the 105s. I'm not too sure if Repost did that in Q1, but Aiden turning it up a notch as he goes to the top of the timing sheets in Q2, and I'm sure he'll be pleased with. So then Aiden's time is the Aiden's time is the time to beat at the moment. I'm sure Repo, who's in the pits at the moment, will have something to say about that. His teammate is also in the pits. All of these cars that you've seen that have set a lap, they're on in-lap. Aeropanic Sunski goes to the top of the timing sheets with a 1:05.1. Driver's really turning it up. 8 temps clear, and if he can do that, I wonder what Repo can do. But let's not take that for granted. That may well be the quickest time we see in Q2. Aeropanic Sunsi turning it up a notch on the softs, and let's have a look for a second. Are they new? We'll have a look. They are new, but nevertheless, Alfie Doolan on mediums. It's very underwhelming from him. 1:07.2, and that would be last as long as everyone sets a lap time that is respectable to their pace. So he's got to up that. Maybe a set of softs to the answer, but not yet. He's going for another lap. If Alfie Doolan will check his progress as he commences. Sen is on an out lap. Milo. He was alright in Q1, I suppose, but he's going to look to do better in Q2, do what he can. But anyways, here is Sen. Sorry for these breaks, but Mike is I'm trying to get a new one, but you know what life is like sometimes. So here is Milo on his out lap. He's going to be starting his lap in a moment. Meanwhile, Alfie Doolan, we said we'd keep up to date with him. He went a 10th quicker in Sector 1. That still wouldn't really be enough. It would put him above Marin, but that was still a very underwhelming lap time from Marin. 3 tenths clear of his previous lap time. That is really good from him. Really pushing in the laps on the mediums. He's giving those mediums as much as he physically can. And they've already gone through 1 lap, I believe. So that's really good from Alfie. Into the final corner. He's a net 4 tenths up. Maybe he can push it to 5 and go into P9. Yes, he has. That probably won't be enough for Q3, seeing the men that are yet to go. Looking at Thomas, Milo, Repos, and even Samabo. So he's going to have to improve if he wants to make it to Q3, you think. Repo skits. He's going. He does go really aggressive on his out laps, doesn't he? Milo, meanwhile, is on a hot lap as he goes into turn 6. He's going to approach 7 downhill left, and where he hit the end of sector 2. 45.5. That's a very respectable time in sector 2. Not quite enough for the purple, but it's very quick nevertheless. Into Lauda curve we go. Down to about 100 to cruise through the final few corners, go past the pit lane because he wants to finish the lap and prove why he is in tier 1 and realistic tier. He hits the line and goes P3. That's very good from him. A 106, so close to cracking the 105, which only 2 drivers have done, and I'm sure he's going to be happy with that, and I'm sure that should take him through to Q3. I believe everyone from 3rd up is saved. Twitch, that lap time might be challenged, but he should be safe. Sen then, P3 at the moment, as he lets the Alpine of, who is that Alpine? It's Samabo, and he needs to get a good lap in if he wants to get to Q3. 7 minutes remain, which it felt like we've been going for a lot longer than the sorry, that's not too good. 7 minutes that we've been going for. Samabo's in sector 2 at the moment. Look at a bit, he looks so shaky. He's really, that's a really odd steering technique from the Alpine driver. He's gone very outside. He's had to slow a bit there. That's not really ideal. 46.0, that's not really the best that he could have done through that sector. Gets a little bit of a toe. I don't understand his steering technique. He seems to, try and correct oversteer. That's just not there. Gets a bit on the curb going into turn 9. He's looking to be about safe, you'd expect, but it doesn't look good enough, and it's P5, which is good enough, I suppose. And again, near his teammate, and that was a very good final sector from the man driving for Q3, but he'll be happy with that, I'm sure. Tomos, with a very good lap, sticks it P2. Him and his Alfa Romeo teammate could not be separated, really, so far in this session. Repo skits again, invalidating. It's getting to that point where you've got to start to feel a bit nervous if you're Repo skits. Not ideal. 2 invalidations in a row. And he's the only man out there that hasn't set a lap. He's the only man out there that hasn't set a lap, and the quickest man out there in Q1 is probably starting to feel the nerves a little bit, as he is only P15, of course. Now we have the majority of cars in the pit lane. I believe Wicked Red has started a lap. We'll have a look at him. He looks to be pushing. His teammate is getting a slipstream from his other teammate as he activates the DRS. He's got DRS, slipstream, and I'm sure ERS as well. Down the back straight into turn 5 we go. Let's see how well he's braking. That's a brilliant camera angle to witness. He got nicely up on the curb there as he goes underneath the crypto border into 7, and of course downhill left. One of my favourite corners on this track, probably apart from Lauder Curve, where you just glide through. He's about to approach that now. His teammate's gone through, and now he's gone through. And I didn't quite catch how quick he was in sector 2. Now we'll see him come through to my favourite corners of this track, Lauder. Look at the way the car drives around. He did not really catch that perfectly, and that will be an underwhelming sector 3. Twitch, meanwhile, is out. I believe he's retired in the pits. Mirror PA, and that, it's going to be borderline, but I don't think it will be enough, because I know Rated can probably go quicker, Lando Norris Inter can probably go quicker, even Alfie can probably go quicker, and of course Repos can absolutely match that and double it. So Miro will probably need a bit of an improvement if he wants to find himself in the Q3 shootout for pole, which I don't think he'll be realistically looking for, but never say never in the world of Formula 1. But we'll wait to see what he can do to find any sort of, lap time that is significant enough to advance. But Thomas is retired. That's respectable and understandable. He is P2, and he is through, you would imagine, unless something ridiculous happens. Who else is out there at the moment? All of these cars that are going to have to set another lap time, just preparing themselves, getting tyres ready, setups. Can't really adjust them after Park Ferme comes into play, but they're all getting ready to go out. Battlehawk has come out of the pit lane, I believe. Yes, he is. There he is. He's going to have to improve. He's going to have to improve. Some drivers you would expect they'd need to improve, but he's going to have to improve by a significant margin. Well, actually, it's not that much of a significant margin. Just under a tenth that he needs to get to make it to a provisional P10, but of course a lot of the drivers out there can match that. So he's the first car in the drop zone to go out for a lap, and the cars around that area, Simon Boat on medium. That's interesting because he is a little bit at risk. A 45.8 in sector 2. He's going to hit the line now, and he's no, sorry, that was a timing screen glitched there a bit. It was a 106.5 for Simon, but I don't know if he's going 2 in a row. Seemingly so. And 36 has less than a 1/10 margin, which was kindly pointed out by one of the viewers on the stream. 700ths slower in sector 1 was Samabo. Here we go then. DRS activated. Down the back straight we go. The BWT splitting in half for this back straight, as I believe we're seeing Alfie Dulhan go out for his outlap. He's another one who must improve if he wants to see himself into Q3. URL Samabo then, coming into sector 2. What can he prove to us? What can he show? And he spun it. That's not going to show us anything. That's just going to show us that he is surely, or could potentially be, out of qualifying. He spun it at the end of sector 2. That's also an invalidation for the Alpine driver. He's had a spin there. You feel like he just got onto the curb and had a spin. Now he's on the gravel. He's making a right mess of this. He spun it again. Don't hit the wall. For the sake of your lap, for the sake of your wing. He's having a bit of an awful time. Repo skits. The main man is out on an outlap at the moment. So is his teammate. No, his teammate's on a hot lap, in fact. We'll go on board with him in a second. Yeah, we will go on board with him now, actually. He's on a hot lap. His teammate is getting he's getting the advantage of his teammate's slipstream, as his teammate's on an out lap. He's on a hot lap. He's pushing to the max. He's in P5. You wouldn't really think he needs to make an improvement. You'd think he's through, but nevertheless, he's going for it in Q2. 21, the number 21. There wasn't 21 drivers to prove from, but there was definitely the 19 looking for it, and he has slowed it, and he will not be going to finish his hot lap. And bit of a shame, because we wanted to see what kind of raw pace he had, but nevertheless, who's on a hot lap? Machin has he had a mare. Is that's not, is he pushing? I'm not sure. I think my cameras have just glitched once more. But yeah, it's either him or my cameras, because that's don't look healthy at all. Repo Skits did a 48. He's no, I think he's going for his hot lap now. Okay, everything is glitching, but I believe he is now on his hot lap. So Repo Skits now into turn 1, and oh my goodness, I don't know if anyone saw that, but it just went red. Whoa, Repost out. Oh my goodness gracious me! The favourite for pole is out of the session, and God knows what happened there, because all of a sudden, boom, you're in a wall. Repo Skits is out. No time set in Q2, and the pole sitter in pre-season is going to be starting from P15. What on earth has happened here? Arapanic Sunsky will be licking his lips at this, but Repo Skits is out of the session, and despite a few cars, other cars that are going to be out, the main man, Repost, is out of the session, and I have no clue what's really happened. Lando Norris Inter is still fighting for his life. Sambo is going to be, if he does survive, surviving on the skin of his teeth. Lando Norris Inter, 2 attempts up. We'll discuss Repost in a moment, but right now, we'll discuss Lando Norris Inter as he makes a bid to get through to Q3 for the first time this season, and Buddy's invalidated it, and that will mean that Lando Norris Inter will be out in Q2, and now let's discuss Skits again. The pole sitter in pre-season out. That's the one to talk about. He's bottled it under pressure, I hate to say, but Arapanic Skonsky will be licking his lips, as I previously mentioned at that, biting at the trump, because he knows now that his chances of getting polar increase. But Repo, that's such a big talking point, that he was quickest in Q1, pole in pre-season, was the favourite, but it just proves all drivers are human and all drivers can make mistakes, and he's done a very costly one. And that's the end of Q2, my folks. Every driver, Sammy Bow, as I mentioned, would be surviving by the skin of his teeth. He has survived by the skin of his teeth. P10 for Sammy Bow. He's got mediums and he's stayed in, so that's going to have to pay off. He's going to have the extra set of softs. Lando Norris Inter is out after invalidating. He was up as well, so that's a big shame for him. And Doohan is out in 13th, so both passes are out. We saw both Williams out in Q1, and now in Q2 both passes out. We're going to take a quick break. When we're back, we'll go over the final results. Well, folks, Arapanic Sunsky tops that session after his biggest rival crashed out. Thomas in second, Layden in third, Wicked in fourth, Milo in fifth, Twitch Conyo in sixth, Rated 7th, Faria with an improvement in 8th, Mirror Show in 9th, Samabo 10th, and the 4 drivers out are Battlehawk, Lando Norris, Inter, Alfie Doolham for the Haas team, bit of a shame for them, Mahin, and the big shot, Karipo Skits, out in Q2 after a crash, which really shocked me. I was speechless, because he was, I mean, I keep going on about it, but he was the firm favourite to take pole, and it's all fallen to pieces, and he's out, of course, after the crash. And if you want to update on the World Cup, Argentina are leading. You guess who? Lionel Messi has put the Argentines up 1-0. They're about to approach the break, but there's no breaks here as we enter Q3. And favourite for pole now, shall we say. We're going to drop it about Repo Skits. I know I'm in shock, but we've got to move on. Arapanic Sunsky. Repost, I'm sure, will be focusing all eyes on the race now. And this time, for once, Lando Inter isn't the first car out, because, for a fact, he's out of the entire session. So, this time it's Twitch Conyo who gets the plaudits for coming out first. The Alpine is going to look to prove his worth. And it is interesting, of course, seeing drivers like Farrier come out of nowhere really to get through to the pole shootout. I wouldn't have believed that if you told me that after Q1. He was so slow, wasn't he, at times? But he's managed to survive to the shootout, and it's going to be a Q3 appearance for Farrier for the first time in the realistic tier. As we have a look. Here we go then. Twitch Conyo, the first man to set a lap in Q3. I'm getting tired by now, to be honest. Not used to commentating on my own, but nevertheless, here we go. Start of the lap, and Twitch Conyo into turn 1. I mentioned that I was speechless about Repo Skits' crash. So was he, proving just how much the drivers don't know what can happen in the context of things. Here we go. Twitch Conyo DRS activated all the way up to turn 4, I believe now. It is turn. No, it's turn. Is it turn 3? It's turn 4. No. Yes, it's turn 3. It's turn 3. It's not turn 2 because of the little king, so it's turn 3. But now we've got that correct. He's getting the slip Junior of the Red Bull, who gets out of the way just in the nick of time into 4. As he gets nicely up in the curb. It's interesting to see the different lines drivers are taking up on that curb. Arapanik Sunsky, can he put it onto provisional pole? He's gone quickest in sector 1. We'll get that up for you in a short moment. We couldn't quite catch how quick he was in sector 1. Into turn 4 we go. He doesn't take the curb like Twitch Conyo did, so that just proves the difference of drivers, and I would probably take Arapanik's side of it because he is quickest in Q2 and second in Q1. His biggest rival is out, so that could be a very good sign for him. 44.9, I think that's the first time we've hit 44 seconds in sector 2. Twitch Conyo then, onto provisional pole with a 1:62. This man sure to beat that, you bet he is. We'll have a look in a couple of moments though, you never know. Into turn 9 we go. Arapanik Sunsky looking as quick as ever, gets perfect on the curb, not enough to invalidate, but enough to go to provisional pole with a 1:48, and that is absolutely spectacular. The first time we've hit that kind of time all qualifying session, and who's on provisional pole? You guessed it, Arapanik Sunsky, proving why he is the favourite to take pole. And with 8 minutes to go, or every single driver is going to see if they even have anything near that time. So far, Aiden is almost a second behind that, as Raiden sticks at P5, but Arapanik Sunsky onto provisional pole. Sanderbo meanwhile is retired. But you will get the. You wonder, can Milo get anywhere near that? He's 5 tenths slower in sector 2. He doesn't seem to have the pace to take provisional pole. Into the final sector we go, past Lauda. It's a lot quieter when you go off board like this. He's invalidated, however, which is going to be a real shame for him, as he looked to have decent pace, a 1:58, which would have been alright. It would have put him third onto the second row. But it's going to be no second row, it's going to be no nothing as he invalidates his first attempt. Tomos, he showed decent pace throughout qualifying. He's currently on an outlap. Mirror Show, meanwhile, he's coming into the pit lane at the moment. Pit limiter activated is what I was looking for, as he boxes for the Mercedes. So most of the cars now in the pit lane. I believe Aiden is on the in lap. Wicked into the pits, and Thomas will go on board with for the duration of his lap. We're off board at the moment, seeing him come through Lauda Curve, the best Austrian Formula 1 driver of all time, of course, who sadly died 3 years ago, almost to the day, I believe. I think he died very recently in terms of calendar year to where we are now, but nevertheless, I can shut up waffling now as we watch Tomos go on his hot lap. You're going to hear me waffling for a little bit longer, just over a minute and 5 seconds, maybe 4 seconds. Let's see what Tomos has got for us. Sector 1, 16.4. That's very quick. That's very respectable and quick first sector. I don't think it's purple, but it's very quick indeed. It's DRS activated. His teammate is P2. It's been 2 and 3 for Alfa Romeo the whole session. They've never been able to crack first place, but it's always been around second, third, fourth at times. But them two, they've been very consistent throughout the session. We saw this in Alpha Tauri yesterday, and then it seemed to all fall apart in the race. So you've got to be consistent in qualifying, but it's not going to be any help to anyone if you don't carry into the race. You saw him go off on the curb a bit, and he did go right around, did Tomos. And I didn't catch his sector 2. As soon as I saw him mount the curve, I knew it was going to be a spin. and just touching the wall. I'm not sure if he's got any wing damage, but Tomas, who's been so consistent throughout, has had a spin now and is going into the pit lane at a very high speed, probably out of frustration, but it's a big shame for him as he enters the pit lane. So, it's a lot quieter now. Only two cars, sorry, out on the track. I believe Farrier is the only one on our hot lap at the moment, but he's invalidated nevertheless. So let's have a little look at the pit lane. Mirror shows exiting the pit lane with 5 minutes to go, but let's have a look at a much quieter pit lane. A much quieter pit lane than here in Austria, as we see the Red Bull of the only Red Bull now of Milo exit the pit lane. But overall it's been a very nice qualifying session. We're in the final section of that now. We have yellows in 1 and 2, well 1/2 at that point, but 4 cars cruising along the track at the moment. Twitch Conyo then, let's go on board with it. P3 at the moment, can he challenge for pole? He was 200 slower in sector 1. You get the feeling he's not quite good enough. Who has got quite enough to beat Arapadik-Sonsky to a maiden pole this season? It is the first qualifying session of the season. That is whoppingly good. 2 tenths quicker. And if he got that, it would put him nearer to Aiden, but still not enough to compete with Arapadik-Sonsky or Aiden really at the most. He's gonna have to have a good final turn. That's all right. It's not ideal for the Alpine driver as he hits the line. Is it good enough to go to P2? No, it isn't. But he's closed the gap to within 4 tenths between him and Aiden, and you get the feeling he's not quite good enough though to challenge even for the front row. He should have one more. I believe he's having a cooldown and then he's going to go for one more. The Mercedes are wicked red. No, Mirror is about to finish his first official lap and he's put it, no, that was his out lap. It always does that. It puts out lap too early, I believe, sometimes. But Milo, hot lap we go. He's yet to settle a lap after invalidating his first attempt. He's going to be hitting sector 1 in a couple of moments time. Here he comes, and it's 16.2, which is, it's alright, could be better, but he's going to hit the DRS open in a couple of moments time. Flash, boom, it's open, blink and you miss it. He's going down into 4 now. He needs to find a bit of pace. The maximum could, if we would have gone P3, if he didn't invalidate his first attempt, that would have still been P3 despite Conyo's improvements. So that proves he does have something left in the bag for him. 3 minutes remain of Q3. Arapatik and the other men right at the top yet to come out. I believe Twitch is into pits and is going one more. Milo has gone quickest in sector 2. Can he find enough to put it onto provisional pole? It would be an upset, it would be a shock, but is it possible? If one man can do it, apart from of course Arapatik, you would get the feeling it's him hitting the line in P3 where he would have been if he didn't invalidate, and that's where he's gone without invalidating this time. And props off to him. It's not really, sorry. That's what happens when you text and commentate. But it was a very respectable lap. It would have put in P3 the first run, but this time of course it's put him P3 officially as Aiden. Well, what can he do? Can he snatch pole? Is he good enough to snatch pole? You'd hope so for the sake of him. But we await to see. 1 minute 50 remaining, and this is the big man. He's out of pit lane. Arapadik-Sonsky up towards the Alps. There's a lot of fans watching him on. Charles Leclerc took many poles throughout the season. The one time he didn't take pole was in Austria. He ended up winning the race. I'm sure Arapadik looks to do both of those things, except from the latter. Aiden and him are both on outlaps. Aiden will be the first man to cross the line, and maybe deservedly so. He'll be one of the final men on track to set the lap time, which could be a pole position. Let's not give him the commentator's curse because he's been outstanding throughout the session. as Wicked Red or Mirror Show, one of the two, has just started a hot lap. It is Wicked Red, sorry, Mirror Show, who's just got into turn 1 now. He's in P6 at the moment. He's in a net P9 as 3 cars are yet to set a lap. Samubo will not be setting a lap as he's out of the session. Thomas, also, remember, who had a spin, is on an out lap as well. He's one to watch out for. Aiden and Arapatic are about to start their laps. Arapatic is just coming into the main straight now. DRS activated as he takes to the line then for one more attempt. Can the man who's been outstanding throughout the whole of qualifying pull it all together one more time to bring the fans something special with 30 seconds to go? Is it going to be a first pole position for Arapatic? And I believe that's exactly equal to his first time in Q1. Thomas is out of the session. He's crashed on the main straight. That is a huge disappointment for the Alfa Romeo team, who are consistently at the top throughout. It's only going to be Aiden who can challenge now. Thomas is out, and that's a massive shame. Aiden, meanwhile, is coming through sector 3. He was 9 thousandths quicker. That won't be enough if he doesn't improve through sector 3. Can he take provisional pole? Can he do it? Aiden to the line. He's not going to be quick enough. He's P2. He's improved his lap, but still 4 tenths off. That just shows this man's raw dominance throughout Q3 into the final corner. He's absolutely flying as Arapatic to the line. He improved by 2 tenths of a second, and surely now the Ferrari can sigh and breathe a breath of relief, because he is surely on pole position with no other car capable of challenging that lap time whatsoever. The Ferrari is on pole here in Austria, and deservedly so. He's been dominant throughout, and the number 2 is not Repost. We don't even need to talk about him anymore. It's Arapatic Skunsky. The Swede is on pole, and that, my friends, is a wrap. And, well, Aiden, he gave it his all, didn't he? He went 2 tenths quicker than his previous time, and you do think that that was the most he could possibly give. But this man was in a league of his own today. Pole position, and he really was in a league of his own. I don't think much more could have been done. But here we go then. That's pole position, folks, for the one and only Arapatic Sunsky. P1 in the Grossia Pries van Oostenrijk. And no one was capable of beating him in the end. 104.6, the only man to touch the 104s today. You get the feeling Repost would have been capable, but he's not there. He DNF'd, he bottled it, which means Arapatic Sunsky dealt with the pressure with ease and ended it with a pole position here in Austria. Aiden took this. Aiden will be on the second row alongside him. He's in P2. Wicked Red third. That's really respectable. Milo in fourth. He's the only Red Bull that could have brought a pole home. He's brought home a second row. Twitch Conyo in fifth. Raider in sixth. Mirror Show in seventh. Faria, you've got to respect him. He was slowest out of the men who set a lap time by a whopping 2 seconds, but after getting to Q3 by, you know, no pace really, he picks up P8. Samabo and Thomas, unfortunately DNFing, especially for Thomas, who was so consistent throughout. He's in P10, which is last out of the Q3 runners. Samabo 9th. Folks, we'll be back in a moment where we get to the race in Austria. well, I believe having technical problems. So unfortunately, I'm gonna have to